Welcome to this explainer. If you've ever been a bit skeptical about the quality of offshore hiring, or honestly just felt completely overwhelmed by that sheer mountain of resumes every time you post a job, well, you are definitely not alone. But today, we're pulling back the curtain. We're going to walk step by step through a rigorous, totally data-backed hiring funnel. We'll see exactly how a chaotic pile of applications gets systematically distilled down into one single, perfect team member.
Right off the bat, we need to reframe our mindset a little bit. When you hire this way, you aren't just paying for an offshore worker to, clock in and out. What you're actually investing in is the safety, the precision, and the reliability of a completely ruthless filtration system. The vetting literally is the entire product. It's all about stripping away the noise, the unqualified folks, and the unprepared, so you are only ever looking at the absolute best of the best.
So here's the chronological journey. In just 5 to 7 days, a huge applicant pool goes through application and screening, then a skills assessment, a voice assessment, interviews, background checks, and finally, that final selection.
All right, let's put some actual numbers to this to really see how it works. We're going to start at the very top of the funnel with a baseline pool of 100 initial applicants. Just imagine 100 hopeful people submitting their forms for a customer service role. In a normal setup, sorting through this pile is exactly where hiring managers lose weeks of their lives.
But here, our very first filter is completely ruthless. It's all about hardware constraints. We immediately drop a full third of candidates, literally 33.3%, for one simple reason: their internet connection is under 25 megabits per second. This is a massive, critical constraint that almost nobody else checks for before hiring. Think about it. A candidate could have the most glowing resume in the world, but if they can't hold a clean, lag-free voice call from their home office, they absolutely cannot serve your customers effectively.
So, just by enforcing that one single hardware standard, our applicant pool instantly shrinks down to 66. We've completely eliminated those without the necessary infrastructure right out of the gate, which saves everyone a ton of time. Now, these 66 survivors move on into the unproctored skills assessment stage.
Now this is where things get incredibly fascinating. By capturing browser telemetry data during these written assessments, we can actually see what most agencies completely miss. While other places just look at the final test score, our data proves that high scorers often get those great results simply by switching tabs or pasting in pre-written text. Look at this. Candidates with 0 tab switches yield a mean score of 52.9, but those with 10 or more switches jump way up to a 68.7 mean score. So what does this tell us? It means that remote written tests often measure someone's tool access and cleverness rather than their actual unassisted ability. And because we actually track that hidden behavior, we don't get fooled by those artificially inflated written scores. We aggressively cut candidates who relied on pasted text or excessive tab switching. And just like that, our funnel narrows all the way down to 30 truly authentic applicants. These remaining candidates then move on to the ultimate proving ground, the voice assessment.
Deep dive, the voice assessment reality. For any skeptical buyer out there who's ever been burned by a bad hire, the data we've gathered from 1,848 scored calls is an absolute aha moment.
The reality of offshore screening is pretty startling. On the written assessment, the gap between candidates who copy-pasted text and those who didn't was a massive 20.9 points. On paper, it looked like this huge difference in skill. But when we put those same people on a live recorded voice call, that massive performance gap shrank to just 3.7 points. Think about that. An incredible 82.3% of a candidate's written advantage completely disappears when they actually have to speak on the fly. You simply cannot fake a live conversation.
So, you might be wondering, what exactly are we scoring during these live calls? Well, tone is our highest weighted dimension at 80%, followed by accuracy. Grammar actually sits a bit lower at 68.6%. And why is that? Because warmth, patience, and the natural instinct to handle a customer properly really shine through in these candidates, even if they make a tiny grammatical slip here and there. A written test totally over-indexes on grammar and is completely blind to tone. But this voice rubric, it perfectly predicts real, human, customer-facing performance.
Armed with that highly predictive voice data, our funnel takes its steepest drop yet. We narrow the remaining pool all the way down to just the top 3%. These are the rare few who actually survive this ruthless, data-driven scrutiny. They've proven they have the hardware, the unassisted skill, and the perfect tone to make it to the final interview and background check stages.
The absolute key takeaway here is this. As a client, you never have to sort through all that noise. You never even see the 97 applicants who didn't make the cut. You only ever see these top 3 finalists. In just 5 to 7 days, you're presented with a silver platter of professionals who are entirely pre-vetted, pre-interviewed, and thoroughly background checked. It's a process designed to convert all that hiring skepticism into absolute, quiet confidence. Which brings us right to the ultimate, bottom of the funnel. You get to meet that top 3%, you ask your own questions, and you make the final selection. One perfect hire, rigorously and systematically distilled from an original pool of 100.
It's a massive filtration system, and it's happening entirely behind the scenes to protect your business. Honestly, if 97% of applicants out there are hiding poor internet connections or artificially inflated skills, you really have to ask yourself, what is your current hiring process actually letting through? Stop guessing and book a call to see what the top 3% actually looks like.